Up on All About Android this week, we discuss how Android is literally infiltrating iPhones. Also, a Chromecast Ultra based on Android TV. That might be coming down the line sometime soon. A first look at the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra that I've been messing around with. We've got the Oppo Find X2 Pro, the Vivo NEX 3S 5G, many letters and numbers, your email, and a whole lot more next on All About Android. All About Android is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by LastPass. From access to authentication to passwords, LastPass manages every entry point to your business so you can mitigate risk while improving employee productivity. Visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter, where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Android. And by LegalZoom. Over the past 19 years, LegalZoom has helped more than 2 million Americans start their businesses by incorporating, forming an LLC, and more. Visit LegalZoom.com and enter AAA at checkout for special savings and see how they can help you. Welcome to All About Android, episode 463, recorded on Tuesday, March 10th, 2020, your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Aunt Pruitt.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, we are. Ron, it's great to have you back, sir.
It's good to be back. I missed you guys last week. Sorry for missing the show.
It's all
I'm
good,
here.
man. But you are here. Joining us, very excited to have for the first time, Fionna Agomuoh from Techie Supreme. I was going to say from TechieSupreme.com, but you kind of are Techie Supreme, right?
I am.
It's really nice to have you on, Fionna. Thank you for hopping on with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I had the opportunity to podcast with you. Well, I guess it was Google I.O. Was it 2 years ago at Google I.O. with Miriam Jawar on her podcast? And there were a couple of other folks there. It was actually a crowded room, if I remember correctly, kind of warm. We were all packed into this room. And we had the chance to podcast then.
Yeah, the press section at I.O. is like very sun adjacent, so it can get uncomfortable.
It can absolutely get uncomfortable.
You won't have to worry about that this year. I was so bummed I missed last week with all that news, with that craziness. But it's
I mean, the craziness continues. Google just announced that they're telling all of their, I believe the news is that they're telling all their California workers to work from home for like the next month. Like a company that size telling everybody to work from home, like that's a big, I don't know. That's got to be challenging.
I don't mean to be facetious, but does that mean that they're pretty much going to be working from the parking lot?
Some of them, that one hurts a little bit. Yeah, that one hurts somebody a little bit. You're probably right.
But I mean, think about it. You've seen the Google campus.
I know.
There's a ton of RVs and whatnot of people that work there. They rent RVs instead of renting apartments and stuff because it saves them money.
They're just going to be staying inside their RVs.
That's just crazy.
In the parking lot.
Yeah. It really is crazy. But, well, we're not there yet. Knock on wood.
Knock on.
We're still coming into the studio.
Board.
Yes, exactly. Fionna, are you disappointed that you won't be going to Google I.O. this year?
Well, I wasn't 100% sure if I was actually going because I'm still kind of trying to figure out my press status with Google. So I'm kind of moot on the matter.
Oh man.
Well, now you're definitely not going, and neither are any of us. So
way to break the news.
At least there's some certainty, right?
There it is.
At least we know the path forward now. We're all not going.
It makes it so much easier.
Exactly.
That was harsh.
But it's true. Look, we're all disappointed. If you had plans to go to South by Southwest, that's not happening.
Yep,
it's just
that's just crazy.
It is a crazy time. I just saw that Coachella they've rescheduled till October.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's cool. It's cool to cancel now.
Yeah. Right.
Well, my biggest disappointment was I actually had a company contact me about sponsorship for Mobile World Congress the day it got canceled.
No.
Oh, really? Man. That sucks.
And had they just missed the memo, they were like,
I think no. It was like I saw the email and literally like 30 minutes later, it was all over the news.
Oh boy. That's a hard one. Well, take a rain check on that.
They got
one,
you
maybe.
next time, though.
That's right.
You're on
They'll
the
do
radar.
they'll do what Google did. They'll basically give you the automatic for next time.
No lottery for you.
No lottery for you. All right, we've got a lot to talk about, and actually, this top news block it's a little bit different than we usually start off the show. So let's dive into the top news.
Live from the parking lot RV at Twit Studios, here's Android News.
Very nice. I didn't know that Victor's TD desk is parked outside in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's a nice long cable. I sound pretty good from here.
You say long cables. That's the magic. So, So Jason, as you referenced, we got a little off kilter news block this week.
Yep.
As you know, I know this is all about Android, but for the next couple of minutes, we're going to be all about iPhone.
Apparently so.
As all the news is iPhone related, because I don't know if you've heard about, but Project Sandcastle is an effort to bring Android to the iPhone. Get your chocolate out of my peanut butter. Project Sandcastle beta builds currently in progress for the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. The people behind this are David Wang and Chris Wade. And if you remember those names, you remember from, 12 years ago for trying to bring Linux to the iPhone. Now, 12 years later, they're like, hey, let's bring Android to the iPhone. And what that means is that they're building everything from scratch, no existing code base to work from. Really fascinating project. I don't know why you do this, but if you're curious about it, you can follow along. They have a status page up at projectsandcastle.org/status, and it shows the progress per device. And it's only been active for 1 month and already has a functional beta out, which is both awesome and perplexing, because what do these guys do for a living that they're able to devote this much time to get a beta out the door? But really fascinating. So go to projectsandcastle.org, check it out for Android on the iPhone. It hurts my mouth to say that.
But no, maybe this is bringing the glimmer of hope to the iPhone.
Maybe.
Right. This is liberating the iPhone. I don't know.
You're getting so many cuss words at you right now.
I like to play on both sides of the fence here and try and be balanced and all that stuff. What do you think, Fiona? Do you think the iPhone deserves Android?
I think it's pretty interesting that they've gone so far back to like the iPhone 7. So it's not necessarily, I guess there's still probably still a few on the market, but the people that are using it are probably not that techie that they would be interested in it. That would be my personal opinion.
Yeah, this status page, it's interesting that the 7 is filled out with so much support compared to the rest of the models. Looks like the iPod Touch 7G, the iPhone 7, and the 7 Plus. But the others have a lot, have some work done on them as well. I think this is, I don't know what it is about the 7 that made that a good starting point, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of like who would bring Android onto their iPhone, or if this is just truly an example of we're doing it because it hasn't been done and we can.
Why does anyone climb a mountain? Because it's there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so equating this to mountain climbing, that makes more sense then.
Sure.
I'm with Miss Fiona. I just don't know that the audience is there for this. The people that still have that iPhone that's that old or what have you, they're probably trying to upgrade to a 9 at the very least and could care less about Android. It's just, I don't see why, unless you're a developer that just feels like, I just want to prove a point kind of thing.
I think that's kind of part of what this is all about.
That's all I see this for, and good on them for having the guts to try it out and actually make it work. I guess they're not doing this for profitability, because I don't see any profit coming from it. Other than just saying, we got you, Apple. We were able to do this, because Apple hides so much of their hardware information. Then you're dealing with their custom chips and things like that. Is there a custom chip in the 7? I know they've been doing like the 8s and A9s and all of that.
Well, see, now you're getting into questions about things that I don't know a whole lot about, like iPhones and the chips that are inside of them.
Yeah, but that's usually the problem when it comes to developing software or whatever, is you have to look at what hardware is going to be running it.
Sure.
And it has to have some sort of compatibility with it.
Right.
ARM versus, regular Snapdragon and things like that.
Sure. I feel
like there's I guess there's kind of like an old school feel to it, just the idea of like, no, we don't really do kind of like jailbreaking and things like that anymore. So it is kind of just like an homage to, like, even like when I got into tech, whatever kind of customization of Android or even Apple was such a big thing. And we've kind of gotten so far away from that kind of, because of what companies have done to secure their systems and things like that. So I think even that is pretty fascinating.
Really does seem like a project that's made for headline grabbing.
And that's it.
If anything, it's like, well, we're doing it because we know there's going to be some attention on this. We know enough about Apple to know that Apple probably wouldn't like to know that this exists. And
this is jailbreaking on steroids, though. Man.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Now, related to this, because of the iPhone.
I wanted to ask you.
Oh, yeah.
Were you going to try to get your hands on a little project like this? I know you like to dink
it's around up his alley.
With rootin' and ramen. And
Well, I'm not opposed to it. I would certainly try this. If they get to a point to where they have a stable build of Android on it, sure, why not? I'd try it. Depending on how many headaches and speed bumps I run into, which, let me tell you, my experience, as we've talked about on this show, in rooting and ROMing, at least with Android, like that was years ago. I don't really do that anymore. As evidenced by this next story, because, I'll tell you in a few minutes here why. This second iPhone story in the rundown is that an iPhone can now be jailbroken by a rooted Android device. This is thanks to CheckRain, which you've certainly heard about if you watch Security Now on this network. We've talked about it all over the network in the last year. That's a popular jailbreak exploit for iOS that recently gained Linux support. So as it gained Linux support, it gained support for Android. At its core, that means that you can do that now. Relatively simple process. You plug the rooted Android device into the iPhone port. You might need an adapter in order to do that. Issue a few terminal commands from the Android device over to the iPhone, and then the iPhone would reboot into a jailbroken state. So this would, normally you would need like a laptop to pull this off. So this makes jailbreaking an iPhone kind of more of a mobile thing, a thing that could be done mobily. And one thing to consider here, this is not a permanent jailbreak. It does not survive a reboot. So the second you reboot that iPhone, it's going to revert and it won't be jailbroken. But, interesting that you can do it. Once again, who needs to do this? I don't know, but it's interesting that you can.
Question for all of you. Now, rooting and ramen was so big and popular back in the days, but now even in the geek culture community of Android, do you still think that rooting and ramen is on a large percentage of phones now, or is it to the point where we don't need it? I know personally, I don't feel the need to root anything anymore, because when I was rooting and ramen back in the days, it was because I wanted a specific functionality, a specific app or whatever. But now all of those questions have been answered and just satisfies the need. So there's no point of going through and running ADB and all of that stuff anymore.
I would agree.
Do you think it's a lot pretty much like that for most people in the community now, or do you still think the root community is still big and heavy and pushing?
I mean, I think the root community, my sense is that it's not as big, but I'm also just not like as tuned into it as I used to be. Fiona, have you ever gone through the process of like rooting an Android device or anything like that? Have you ever even been interested in that, and if so, like what were the reasons why?
I've never really done it on a device that I've used long term. I've definitely had friends and things like that have like helped me play around with rooting back in the day, but it never really was my ultimate forte. But I definitely used to be like, I would be the observer and like really kind of seeing my friends that were into it, kind of seeing how it transformed the device. That was always pretty fascinating to me. And again, when I first got into tech, I used to follow all the cyanogen mod updates and things like that all the time. So stuff like that used to be pretty fascinating to me. Yeah.
Well, and because kind of touching on what you were talking about, Ant, back then, by back then, I mean back when I was ROMing, right? But this was probably like, what, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah, I mean, phones, and especially Android devices, really did seem to kind of hit a point where I really want a little more out of this. Maybe I want more battery, or maybe I don't like the fact that I've got, Sense UI and I hate Sense UI I've got on my HTC phone. I want to have a more stock, installation.
Get this crapware off of it.
Need to get the crapware off. Whatever the reasons were. Things are a little different now.
Also, there was a whole bunch of apps and functionality you got from rooting, and from doing things, and then over the years, Google has just implemented that into Android itself, so the need became less. Like that killer app became less required.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Titanium backup. Oh wow.
Yeah,
I saw that in the chat room.
Yeah. Well, and still, like Titanium backup, because it has root access, can back up literally everything on the phone.
Yes.
So that is a solution that benefits from having root access. But how necessary is that now? Google's integrated backup into their
everything's going
systems.
to the cloud.
It maybe doesn't back up every single thing on your phone, but it backs up the majority of the things that you really need, unless you're a true hardcore techie, maybe even the supremest of techies. Just throwing that out there, and you want just a little bit more out of it. Now, I've got a drawer full of old Android phones. None of them were rooted because these are all from like the past three or 4 years. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna borrow an iPhone. I got one from Jerry here at Twit. I think it's an iPhone. Actually, I think it's like an iPhone 7. I was like, I'm going to do this. Maybe I'm going to make an episode of Hands on Android. I spent, I think, 3 hours on Friday and 2 hours yesterday just trying to root one damn phone.
Nope, I'm done.
And I picked 3 different phones, and for whatever reason, this is where I realized, like, oh, this is totally passed me by. Like, this should not be this difficult. And I know someone's hearing me say this right now. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe it took you. Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. But for me, like, well, for whatever reason, any of the walkthroughs that I found on XDA, they always led to a dead end where I'm like, oh, shoot, I think I just bricked my OnePlus 7 Pro. I'm going to have to undo that now. I know that it's not the end of the world for that phone. I could bring it back, but that's just more work to bring it back. And I'm like, God, this just isn't worth it.
It gets frustrating at some point. Yeah, it's not worth it. So
yeah, totally. I still want to pull it off though. Like at this point, it's a challenge that I've got to solve.
It's climbing that mountain.
Yeah, right? Gotta climb that mountain.
That's okay. I hang out in the valley.
You'll just hear me swearing at myself, cussing up the storm with every roadblock.
All right, let's move on from the iPhone.
All right. Let's thank the sponsor, and then we get into some hardware. We've got some really cool news coming up in hardware. First, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by LastPass. We love LastPass here at Twit. Securing every access point in your business, well, it's critical, but it's challenging for IT to improve security without impacting employee productivity. It can slow people down. That's the eternal challenge in security, is how do you enhance security without totally stopping people's kind of movement and their productivity. LastPass provides you with a balance of strong security that's also easy for your employees to use and manage. With LastPass, employees benefit from a solution that's easy to use while IT maintains control over every login. LastPass offers multiple solutions for businesses. Of course, LastPass Identity, which unifies password management, single sign-on, and biometric multi-factor authentication into a single solution. There's adaptive authentication, which combines biometric and contextual intelligence that will allow LastPass to prove a user's identity with a variety of flexible MFA options. You can eliminate passwords by leveraging biometrics and integrations, so you can streamline access to work applications without ever having to type in a password. If I can get to the point where I never have to type in a password again, I would love that. Secures every access point from web applications to workstations and VPN. You can manage every access point in your business that way. You can deploy instantly, which is very nice, almost essential. LastPass Identity offers over 1,200 pre-integrated SSO applications to get users up and running quickly. You also get granular control without the hassle. You can leverage more than 100 policies to manage users at the app, individual, group, or organizational level to customize access and authentication requirements. And LastPass goes above and beyond to ensure security for all of its users. Your data is encrypted and decrypted at the device level. You have a master password, and the keys used to encrypt and decrypt data, those are never sent to LastPass servers and are never accessible by LastPass. As a gold standard, they engage trusted world-class third-party security firms to conduct routine audits and testing of their service and infrastructure to keep you safe, to keep me safe. I've got all my passwords in LastPass. I love it. I use it every single day, and most of the time I'm using it. I don't even realize I'm using it. Talk about like not having to do a whole lot to that trade-off of security and slowing you down. That doesn't happen with LastPass. It all happens automatically. It's awesome. Increased security doesn't have to be complex. LastPass makes identity and access management simple for IT to manage and easy for employees to use. So start your journey today. You can visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. Check it out for yourself. That's lastpass.com/twit. And we thank them for their support of All About Android. All right. We've got a little bit of a supersized hardware block that's coming up right now. Okay.
Well, so the folks at 9 to 5 Google had a little bit of a rumor leaked to them. You remember the Chromecast?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
You know, I know people tend to forget about it because that functionality seems to be built into all of the televisions.
Yeah, I've got it in my TV now. Don't necessarily need the dongle.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there's a rumor that Google is going to update its latest Chromecast Ultra to another version of Chromecast Ultra. You're going to get 4K display as well as HDR, but there's an additional kicker. You're going to get a remote with it, allegedly.
Because at its core, it's not Chromecast.
No.
It's Android TV. That's pretty cool.
Android TV. I think this is pretty big. They're basing it on Android TV, and it's going to have the external remote. And you're going to get similar functions that you'll find in regular Android TVs. Probably going to be, I'm not sure what the release date is on this, but yeah. I think this is something that's worth mentioning and worth taking a look at because of Chromecast. I've had love-hate relationship with it. It was.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, it was great when it came out. It attempted to solve a problem, but I've always sort of liked Android TV and the different iterations that I've seen of it. So now, if they can just take this same tech and pivot off of it and give me a remote just to make it a seamless use, I'm all in on this.
I mean, the thing about this is that so this is basically just an Android TV dongle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right, like you know the Chrome the concept of casting from your phone. You know we've discussed at length. It's unless you're savvy, it's difficult to run with and all this stuff. But a remote is just a no-brainer. This is just like a Roku stick.
That's what I was going to mention. Was already competing with Roku now.
Yeah, this and NVIDIA and all with the Shield and all that sort of stuff. It's just like so. The question is, how I guess. Why didn't they do this years ago? That's my main question.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. They've been releasing some of the developer kits. The ADT3 was an Android TV developer kit that came out not that long ago, and it's essentially this. It's like a dongle running Android TV with a remote. This would, of course, be the Chromecast form factor, but I imagine functionally it would be about the same. I don't know, Fiona, like, are you all in on Android TV? Do you have any devices that run Android TV? Are you happy to see that Google might be bringing Android TV to the dongle form factor and maybe giving it a boost?
I don't actually have Android TV at my house here. I mean, I've kind of had various things that I've reviewed, but just kind of in my everyday, I don't really have Android TV, but I actually do have a Chromecast that I use regularly. So I think for me, I would probably be interested in something like this because, again, kind of just to simplify the idea of being able to access your content and not have to cast, and go through the motions of controlling things on your phone and things like that. And even for me, sometimes my internet connection can get weird. So depending on the app, you'll have things like, oh, the app's been running for so long that it's playing, but it's like not connected somehow.
Weirdness there.
I think
for sure.
What broke me. That's what broke me with the Chromecast is that I'd be watching an hour-long show and 30 minutes in, it would disconnect from the thing, and then I have no controls. It was a nightmare. I'm so happy with Android TV now with the Shield, with the NVIDIA Shield, so much better. So I feel like for me, I would probably, in terms of an upgrade, I probably would be interested in something like that. I've never really gotten to actually play with Android TV on a long-term basis, so I'd be interested to see what it's about.
I'm curious to see the performance on it because it was always
That's true.
Ultra
That's a good point.
hot. You know, once you plugged it in, you wanted to leave that thing alone, period. It was always going to be a smoking dongle on the back of your television.
Smoking dongle. That's smoking dongle.
It was so hot. You know, but then there's also the idea of, say, travel. You know, people would travel with their Chromecast at one point and just have their content, you know, available to them. So now what about this with the remote? Is it easier? Is it a little more difficult with the remote? How does it know what to look for? There's a lot of different little nuanced questions here.
Yeah, the beauty of Android TV is that Chromecast is built into it too.
Right.
So you get your Chromecast if you want to cast the way you used to.
Right, like they shouldn't call this Chromecast Ultra. It should just be called Android TV with Chromecast. Like this is
right.
It does kind of feel like, I will admit that when I read this article, I felt once again that like Google's kind of blurring the lines a little bit with their marketing, right? Yeah. Suddenly, what used to be this it's not running Android, product category now. But it is over here, but it's not over there. Mind you, this is not a real product yet.
Not yet.
But Google does this, and somewhere in the line, in the line, it gets confusing. For people.
It's that whole marketing team that we said that they don't have.
Well, they have. But this next story might question how good they are.
All right.
So the Google Pixel 4a, I say, and you say Pixel 4a, that doesn't exist. Well, it's going to exist because the specs have leaked.
Shocking.
The Pixel 4a is going to be a 5.81-inch FHD 60 hertz screen running a Snapdragon 730 processor and Adreno 618 GPU with 6 gig of RAM, 64 gig of storage, 12 megapixel rear camera. What's a tongue twister? 8 megapixel front camera and a 3080 milliamp battery. And Google captured lightning in a bottle with the Pixel 3a, but based on these specs, do we think the Pixel 4a will be another winner or a sophomore slump?
Wow, you've got like all the headlines that you threw in there. That was good.
I'm back.
Yes, you're back. Ron's back. I mean, not only the specs, by the way, but I should also mention somebody posted a video basically obtained the device from a store. So some store is selling this device, which sounds similar, right? This happened like last year, was it with the 4 or the 3? Phone. I can't remember.
Yeah, every phone.
It seems like Google always runs into this. Some of these devices fall off the truck or something, and they end up getting sold in the black market. Why does this keep happening, Fiona? What is wrong? What is going on at Google?
Obviously, there's somebody in there who is throwing it off of the truck.
Yeah, just throwing it. Hey, you go.
So, I mean, this came up a couple of years ago when the Pixel 3, I believe it was the 3 lineup that leaked so heavily. And I guess the 4 did too.
The 4 had a lot.
That's true. The 4 did have a lot. We knew literally everything about the 4 for months. Is this, again, it goes back to, is this an intentional marketing thing, or is Google just this bad at securing their devices?
I'm staying out of this conversation.
All right. Is Google just this bad at holding on to their devices? Do you think someone's working behind the scenes on something like this, Fionna?
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, that's just not even just Google. That's just par for the course for everyone.
And
was it the 4 that there was like a leak and then Google put out their own ad thing? Was that the 4?
Yep.
That was like a whole thing. So like there's some kind of strategy in there.
And I didn't whisper to her to say any of that. So there.
There you go.
Such a crock.
Yeah. So you think this is all planned?
Yes.
Yeah. You think Google's playing us right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
I would give them credit if that's the case.
That's the cheapest marketing budget right there. Yeah. Let's put a leak out there, and then we'll shoot video of it through a potato, so it'll look like they're really trying to hide something, and then we'll.
So then, do you think that the guy at TechnoLike Plus, is that a Google employee, or is this just someone who has a
that's
channel?
Somebody's boyfriend. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I saw that dude down in Millbrae last weekend. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we should have brought him on for an interview then. Next time you see this guy, tell him we want to talk to him.
He was in Millbrae. Said he had a meet in the Daly City for some project. So
and they probably have that video of it actually falling off the truck.
Right.
I don't know. Okay, so about the phone itself then. Mm-hmm. The 3A, like you said, Ron, caught lightning in a bottle. It was pretty darn successful. It was the top of my list of best phones from last year, just purely for being impressive for what it was. It really delivered at a great price point. So there's a lot. I think there's a lot of expectation on Google to follow it up with a phone that's at least equally as good, and maybe it's impossible for Google to meet that excitement or that anticipation. But I mean, does this?
I say look at
satisfy?
Android first. Look at the latest Android first, because maybe the OS is optimized to be able to run this phone without a hitch the same way it was with the 3A. Mm-hmm. That's something to consider. I know those specs are not anything to shake a stick at and be excited about from a spec nerd, but hey, if the operating system is super efficient, you don't need all of that horsepower.
And if it has the camera system, or at least the solid pixel camera, because I think that's
just have
big
the pixel
reason
camera, because everything else was AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course we won't get to paw at this phone at Google I/O like we did last year. So that is a bummer.
Word on the street is we're going to have a 4A leaked here in about 2 weeks. There's going to be a random delivery of a 4A.
Your friend over at
in the trucking service,
right?
Your friend over at TechnoLike Plus, the YouTube channel.
They told me to look out for a random van with red paint on it. So,
all right. Well, you heard it here first, and so we'll know to expect that and hold you accountable for that. I am looking forward to the Pixel 4a. I couldn't not after how good the 3A was.
Indeed.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's interesting though that here we are again. The 4A is not expected to release anytime in the next 2 months, but yet we're already seeing that it's being sold in a store somewhere. So I don't know what that says, other than
sold.
It's kind of crazy.
A
phone that I am playing around with right now, I got the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. This is so I can show it off right here. This is the top of the line Samsung Galaxy phone that they announced, weeks ago. It is pretty, but man, I like large phones. I've got large hands. Large phones don't bug me. This thing's really large. It's actually bigger than the Pixel 4 XL that I have that's in a case, and it's bigger. And you feel it. It's just gigantic. It's heavy. The camera bump.
I think they forgot to take the security tag off the back of your phone, Jason. Is that what that is?
Yes. Here, let me remove that so you know I'm not stealing it.
That thing is massive.
Yeah, it really is massive. And, and that's because the lenses in here are actually large lenses, larger than we're accustomed to seeing in most smartphones. So you need that extra distance that it gives you. But my goodness, this phone just feels gigantic.
Holy cow!
Holy cow is right. Thank you, Ron, for saying that line. Yeah, Ron is not amused.
Better than goats.
That's true. Keep the goats out of today. We want Ron to keep coming back, so no goats. Yeah, I would say 6.9 inch, 120 hertz AMOLED display, 12 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage on the device model that I got. I think you can go all the way up to 512 on the upgraded model. 5,000 milliamp hour battery, in-display fingerprint sensor, which my God, I hate it. I hate it. I cannot stand Samsung's.
I saw a little bit of a rant from you on Twitter about that.
I mean, it's just, of course, now that I'm doing it on the show, it's going to work every flipping time.
Nope.
But I swear, I have so much trouble with this fingerprint sensor, and then I hear from the person, the random person online that says, "Oh, it always works for me."
Nope, that was 2 attempts right there. That sort of stuttered.
but that's not even it. Like it actually opened those first 2 times, and that's better than it normally does for me. So, anyways, and then the camera system, of course, a lot of people are complaining about the camera system, and I would say that in my experience with the camera system so far, primarily on the main, it's a 108 megapixel main. That's 12 megapixel images combining 9 pixels into one, essentially, is how that operates. And because of the size of these lenses, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you know all the camera stuff, and I will take pictures. Like, let's say I would take a picture of my dog Sugar, and on a normal camera, and by normal I mean on my Pixel 4 XL, I would take the picture, and Sugar's entire head and face and everything would be perfectly focused. If I was to take that picture of Sugar with this main camera, it's like the bridge of her nose and kind of into the eyes are really sharply focused. And then as like her face curves away from the lens, it starts to fall out of focus. Which
shallow depth of field.
Shallow depth of field. I imagine artistically that could be fun to play around with, but on everyday shots, it gets really annoying.
Don't want it.
You don't want it.
All smartphones today all have a fixed aperture that's really, really wide open, like at f2.0 or something like that. So ideally you will get a shallow depth of field, but I think what you're experiencing is just computational photography doing a little bit too much.
But man, it shouldn't be, because it's not like I have it in a mode that says enhance this or whatever. It really feels like I'm in the mode of like just taking a straight shot.
But is that straight shot Samsung's secret sauce though? I mean, they're not necessarily using the same
yeah, you could be right, because if I pull up the camera interface, you got this button down here, and that is Scene Optimizer. Maybe that's on, and that's making some adjustment there.
Sauce.
Right now, I'm in the 100x zoom, so the fibers of this table. That's what you're seeing right now.
When do you need a 100x zoom, by the way?
Well, apparently you need a 100x zoom. Hold on, let's see here. You need a 100x zoom, not when you're looking at my handsome face, but you need it. God, why do I take so many pictures of myself? When you're taking a picture of a drone up in the sky, that's a 100x zoom shot, and no, it doesn't look good. Like, it's hard to even know exactly what that is. It kind of looks like a robot.
And it was, trying to hold steady. That drone is a good.
That's the hardest.
100 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
And you're zoomed in. You're trying to hold steady. The drone wasn't necessarily steady. So I give it a little bit of grace for that, but still.
Totally. So this was wide, normal. Man, is that 10? I think that's 10. 30? 100. Nope. 100 just looks like a painting. And I don't know why anyone needs 100x. Fiona, do you have any thoughts as far as why anyone needs 100x zoom, or really any thoughts on the S20 series? What did you think about the announcement and what Samsung provided this year?
Well, I mean, in terms of the 100x zoom, the full moon was yesterday, so I definitely did see some of my friends taking up close shots of the moon, and you kind of got a little bit of detail in there, just like so that those were like pretty interesting to see. And I just took some shots with my Pixel 4 and using astrophotography, but I didn't get the up close shots of the moon like I saw some of my friends did, so I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, I'd like to see a Samsung moon shot. I'm curious to see what that would look like, because it's pretty hard to shoot a moon shot anyway with a regular, full size camera. Yeah. Because it's a bright spot up in the air, and you have to have the shutter speed just right. I'd like to see that. If anybody in the chat room has one.
They weren't spectacular, but it was still interesting to see, because I feel like you kind of got a little bit of the shadows and details of the moon, but it wasn't like it wasn't like a Hubble type of shot or anything like that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of have to I have to remind myself sometimes, this is a phone. Mm-hmm. It's a phone with a camera. Yeah. And the fact that we can do what we can do with a camera on a stinking phone is pretty cool. But we're getting to that point now where pictures, at least the average everyday point and shoot of like a Pixel 4 XL in a normal scene without any extra setup, just pulling it out and taking a picture. They're getting so good that we're expecting so much more out of them. Yeah. But we're going to run into these barriers, like that the technology just can't. The technology is not going to make 100x zoom look good.
Nope.
Or maybe someday it will, but we're certainly not there now.
But still, why even offer it?
Why not only offer it, but like it's called out on the back of the device. I don't know if you can even see it there. It's like embossed underneath the glass. Now you can't see it. It's really hard. Oh, there you go. Yeah. It's like, we want everybody to know space zoom 100x, and I don't even know what this mode is for. Like, who needs it? I don't know who needs it.
I'm with Uncle Vic though in the chat.
Somebody's gonna catch their cheating husband with 100x zoom.
And that's the thing. No, Fiona, you're absolutely right. That's the thing. When it comes to this feature, all the mind goes to are like bad uses for it, right? Yeah. What are good uses for it? What is like a really solid, like, I'm really happy I had that 100x.
It just looked like a 100x zoom blotch on the screen, though, man. You assume it's a person.
Yeah, right. It doesn't give you any detail about what you're looking. It just confirms that it exists. Yeah, that's all it does.
There's a shadow at 100x zoom over there. I could see it now. Don't know what it's doing, but I could see it.
Yeah.
But listen, just because you can isn't a reason why you shouldn't.
I agree.
Wait a minute. You changed it there at the end. That isn't where I thought that was going.
Well, I guess for a touch of optimism, there could potentially just be the idea of it being there and then being improved over time, potentially.
Okay.
That's a really good point, right? Like these features, they launch at one point, at one time, and maybe 2 iterations down the line, the S22 or the S33, whatever they call it, maybe it'll be like super optimized 100x zoom.
Yeah.
And then they'll offer a 200 zoom. Yeah. That looks like a potato. This is just how it
goes. I'm with, I believe it was Uncle Bick in the chat room. He mentioned earlier, the whole bump on the back of that phone, that bugs me. And I think we could just get rid of that. And if we can just make the phone a little bit thicker. The phone is already heavy. So making it thicker is not going to hurt that much. And you could probably get a slightly thicker battery in there.
Yeah.
So why not? But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm no industrial design specialist, so.
Sure, there's a reason.
Yeah. Probably so. All right. So anyways, I've got a review of this coming to Hands on Tech next Monday. If y'all want to check that out, twit.tv/HOT next Monday.
Well, we look forward to that, but we're going to take a look at another flagship phone. The folks at Oppo announced its Find X2 Pro. I cannot say that fast. That's why I had to slow down right now. But it's the Find X2 Pro. You get a 6.7-inch 3168 by 1440 OLED screen, so this thing is really, really pretty and clear. HDR10 plus, 120 hertz refresh rate, so super duper fast. Running 1440p, just as I mentioned here previously. You get an optical in-display fingerprint, similar to what's going on with the rest of the phones nowadays. Don't know how that'll be taken. Snapdragon 865, 12 megapixel rear camera, 8 megapixel. Nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry, this is a lot higher than that. 48 megapixel main rear camera, 13 megapixel telescoping, telephoto lens, and you get a 32 megapixel selfie camera.
All the megapixels.
I'm a good looking dude, but I don't know if I want a selfie cam look that good on me, That's wow.
Could you down res my selfie cam,
I don't know,
please?
man. Yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, and you get 65 watt charging, so it's going to be a lot faster.
That's fast.
It's pretty fascinating, the tech that's behind that. They talked about how they take the heat and push it away from the battery and push it more towards the brick, because if a cooler battery charges faster. So that's pretty smart there. It's not a glass back, it's a ceramic back, which means it's still going to break pretty easily, but may feel a little bit different and may give you a little bit better gripability. And is clocking in at yet another $1,000 plus price tag. So we're looking at $1,350 approximately for this phone.
Man, they're all going for it now.
Yeah,
the floodgates are open.
Take me back to the good old days, man. Oh man, oh man. There's also
don't get me started, Ann. Jeez.
it's just way too expensive. Goodness.
Yeah.
It also has a non-pro version of it, so you're going to get a little bit different storage wise, 256 gigabytes of storage, and a smaller battery on the non-pro side, and it'll be a little bit cheaper instead of $1,350, it'll be $1,130.
So still more than $1,000 for the non-pro version. My goodness. You didn't mention the orange and gold vegan leather option.
You lost me.
Macadile.
You lost me vegan.
Well, you're not eating the phone, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, I did miss that. Orange and gold vegan leather. That's I
feel like that's prime for Mateo.
At that point, do you call it something? It's not leather.
No,
totally. Yeah, that's
vegan
true.
leather doesn't. It's still not leather. It's just
We need Mr. Mateo to get his hands on this and send it over to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to see that, because I will never see it over here otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've had any time with an Oppo phone.
I've only had 5 minutes or so at CES. I saw them many years ago at CES when they had the model that had the camera that flipped over. At the top.
Yeah, that's right. That may have even been an earlier version. No, it's not the Find.
It was an Oppo
Find.
I think it was a Find 1.
Okay,
something like
which
that.
was a couple of years ago, and that makes sense. Have you ever had any time or experience with the Oppo phone, Fiona?
I have not.
Yeah,
again, I feel like probably very similar, just kind of like passing by booths at conferences, but not like any kind of briefings or launches or anything like that.
Yeah. It's a flagship. I would love to play around with it and see if it's worth $1,350.
So now flagship equals minimum $1,100, essentially.
I guess.
It's just crazy. Well, if you want to spend less money, you should check out the NEX 3S 5G from Vivo, which got unveiled. It's a moderately upgraded version of the NEX 3 5G from last year. It's running a Snapdragon 865 with 5G, 12 gigabyte of RAM, 512 gig storage, UFS 3.1 storage. It's got a 6.89-inch FHD plus waterfall display with a body-to-screen ratio of 99.6. That's impressive. Body to screen. It's got a triple camera, 64 megapixel, 13 megapixel ultra wide, and 13 megapixel 2x optical telephoto. It's got my favorite feature, the 16 megapixel pop-up selfie cam. Love the pop-up camera.
Love that, yeah.
4,500 milliamp battery with 44-watt fast charging. It's got a hi-fi DAC, which is great. Nice. And it sells, in case you want this little baby, for $4,998.
Son of a mother. Goodness.
Yuan, which translates to $719.
Okay, that's bad. Okay.
Yeah. And that's for the 8 gig or 256 the 8 gig and 256 gig storage version, or 5,298 won, which translates to $762 American for the 12 gig with 512 gig of storage. So you talked about never touching an Oppo phone. Has anyone ever touched a Vivo NEX?
No,
I never have,
sir.
Negative. No, I've not had the opportunity to do this. And
these are crazy.
I think both of these phones, I would say China is probably a large market for these devices. They're certainly launching there.
Considering they price it in yuan, yeah, I guess so.
Well, but they're eventually there. Thank you, Captain Obvious. They're opening these up to other parts, but I imagine big focus there. Our only hope for these devices is Matteo bringing them in. Yeah. He seems to be the one that ends up, and I don't know that he's traveling anytime soon. So. We'll
work on him.
Yep. Anyways, so that's hardware. We've got some emails and some important app news coming up. But first, let's take a break. Thank the sponsor of this episode, and that is ZipRecruiter. Hiring used to be hard. Maybe you've hired before and you realize it's not the easiest thing in the world. Multiple job sites, stacks of resumes, a confusing review process involved. But today, hiring can be easy. You only really have to go to one place to get it all done. And thankfully, that place is ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job sites, and they do so much more from there. That isn't where their work ends. They have powerful matching technology that scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and then invites them to apply to your job. Presents that to them, puts that in front of them so that they can apply for your job. If they're capable, if they're qualified, you want them applying, and that's how ZipRecruiter can help. You can even add screening questions to your job listing so you can filter candidates and focus on just the best ones. That way you're not wasting your time dealing with candidates or checking out candidates that might not ultimately apply to everything that you're looking for. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. We've used ZipRecruiter many times here at Twit for our hiring. My wife has used ZipRecruiter at her business to hire. It's just a really great way to find qualified candidates for your job. So right now, to try ZipRecruiter for free, our listeners can go to ZipRecruiter.com/Android. That's ZipRecruiter.com/ANDROID, Android. And check it out. They're the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter is awesome. ZipRecruiter.com/Android. We thank them for their support. All right, we have one story in apps, but it's an important one. And maybe before we get into it, before I hand it over to you, Ron, Fionna, where do you stand in the state of music apps? Everybody kind of has their flag planted somewhere in the state of music apps.
Answer carefully.
Where's your flag?
Which one do you use currently? What do you use for music?
You can light your coals now because I do use YouTube Music.
I love it. I'm so happy that you said that because we want to pick your brain.
All right, we're gonna need. Well, let's get into it because for those of you who've been watching the show know that we are all very concerned about the upcoming shutdown of Google Play Music and the transition to YouTube Music. Google has been very limited in their information about YouTube Music. We loved Google Play Music for its ability to upload your personal library, to have access to it on the road. So much stuff about it. Google Play Music wasn't perfect, but for the last how many years, Jason? 7 years. It's gotten the job done.
Yeah,
6 years, 5 years.
I don't know when it launched. But
it played the music when you asked it to.
The music when you asked it to, exactly.
2011, November 16th, 2011, it launched.
So 9 years I've trusted Google Play Music like a trusted friend to play my music for me, and now it's going to that farm in the sky. And anyway, because bright and shiny black background YouTube Music is here, and sure enough, my head I spun around like that squirrel back from 15 years ago.
Yes.
And when Android Police posted this article about them going hands-on with the new YouTube Music upload feature, and I got to tell you, it's a mixed bag, people. It's a mixed bag, and at the end of this, I'll tell you where the equation ends up. There's some positives and some negatives. First one is that YouTube Music uploads are not downloadable after the fact. This is not a backup option for your music library. Negative.
That's a big change.
Right. Oh boy.
Change. No device limit like we had on Google Play Music.
Yay.
Positive. That's a positive. That's great. Use it wherever you want. 100,000 song upload limit. Now, this probably sounds like a negative, but I challenge you to have 100,000 songs. That's a lot of music. I am a very big music fan. I'm fairly certain I tap out somewhere like around 60,000 at that. I got to check the exact number, and I'll do that when I get home.
And I think on Google Play Music, it's now 100,000 for many people as well. It started 50,000, and then some people got increased to 100,000. So they're kind of on parity there.
So I'll give that a neutral because there is a limit, but I challenge you to hit that limit. And anybody in the chat room, if you can hit that limit, I want a screenshot to prove it. Okay. Next point. Searching for music doesn't integrate your music into the overall YouTube Music library. Your music is fully separated from YouTube Music content. Now, this might seem like a negative, but I actually think that's a positive because I don't want to go anywhere near YouTube Music content. So I'm going to give that a positive.
But how will the algorithm learn about you, Ron?
I don't want the algorithm to learn about me. The algorithm is never right. So, yeah.
Look, he knows what he wants, and he knows how to find it.
Preach.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
The next one is no way to edit metadata on uploads. Now, this is probably a negative, but by inches, because if you're uploading something that has bad metadata, why are you uploading it? Like, fix it before you upload it. That's me.
True.
Okay, no access to uploaded music via Google Home. Huge negative.
Wow.
That's like a deal breaker for me, right? Because that's what I listen to my music on is my Google Home now. So
have to imagine that's a feature that they add. Like they don't keep that out permanently. But.
Cannot believe if they don't. I can't believe that I just said those words.
Wow.
Next point: full access to upload music via Android Auto. As opposed to the limited access we got with Google Play Music. Positive if you have Android Auto. I don't have Android Auto, so it's moot for me. And finally,
the biggest one.
You can use YouTube Music audio with Android's alarm app, which you can't use with the Google Play Music library.
The most important point right there is saved for the very end. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Huge point. So that said, we have a lot of positives and negatives, but ultimately... I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I want to be curmudgeon and be like, this is negative, this is awful, let me flip the table. But it's not that bad. This is workable for me.
Yeah, but it checks a lot of boxes.
So now that said, Fiona, I want to know how long you've been using YouTube Music and why on earth are you using YouTube Music?
Was it on purpose?
Well, I have a very interesting music taste and just history of music apps. So I'm really into electronic music and EDM and things like that. And in particular, I listen to a lot of music that may be like a continuous mix. That is something that is probably, let's say it's like a festival where it's uploaded onto YouTube and things like that. So for a very long time, I actually used Google Play Music. I can't remember exactly when, but there was one time where there was some kind of 6-month free deal, and I got it. It's 3 months or 6 months, and I just never canceled it. So I used Google Play Music for a long time, but then when I really got into the type of music I listened to, I actually I still used it for uploading my own songs and things like that. So I had my own curated playlists from songs that I had downloaded over the years. But when it came to discovering new music, I actually just used YouTube. I had YouTube Premium, so I would just if it was a new track or if it was an extended mix or if it was a video, a show or something like that, I would just download it on YouTube and just listen to it there. If you have premium, obviously you can listen to whatever you're listening to with the screen off. So I just used YouTube as a music app. So then when YouTube Music came out, I kind of use it the same way, where I actually kind of flip-flop in between YouTube and YouTube Music, because I do kind of find very similar limitations where, like, even for me, I'm having an issue with, I've had in the past, a couple months ago, I was using a different phone and I had a ton of playlists downloaded on that phone. And now I'm having an issue where I can't download those same playlists. They're like not downloading onto my new device. So, like, I know that there's a lot of limitations on YouTube Music. So, again, I kind of still revert back to just using YouTube because that's just what I'm used to.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're not even using YouTube Music. It sounds like you're just using YouTube.
Well, like I said, I use it. I use it in terms of, like I said, I have my playlist. All of my playlists are there, and things like that. So if I have the connectivity and stuff like that, I will kind of refer to YouTube Music. But if it is something, maybe I'm traveling or something like that. Like I was traveling early last week, and that's kind of where I had that issue. I was trying to download this playlist and it wouldn't download. So then I just ended up downloading the playlist on YouTube. So, for that circumstance, I did use YouTube as a backup, but I do, again, if the circumstances are okay, I can just go ahead and use YouTube Music.
So I know,
don't be that much.
It makes a lot of sense to me, actually. I know that on YouTube I found a lot of like long, continuous DJ mixes. And like you say, from like festivals or recorded soundboard or whatever, that are great, that you're not going to find through a simple search in an app like Google Play Music or Spotify. You're just not, because those were uploaded by some random person, long continuous mix. And, definitely those are, like, I enjoy listening to those too. In YouTube Music, are you able to still find those types of mixes like easily through the interface, or do you still have to go over to YouTube to do that?
You are, and again, I feel like that's another reason why I do kind of enjoy YouTube Music, because I am able to find those mixes. And even more recently, I've kind of gotten into songs that are like mashups of multiple different songs. So like I kind of have like an old school type of taste. So it'll be something weird like Aaliyah mixed with Ariana Grande or something like that. And again, you're not going to find those on other music apps, but I can find them on YouTube. And then if I do search them on YouTube Music, I can make a playlist and listen to them there. So that is another reason why I use YouTube Music, because I could kind of find those odd fan created mixes and things like that, and songs that you're literally not going to find anywhere else.
No, fair.
Maybe like SoundCloud, but who uses SoundCloud anymore?
Right. Yeah.
I would like just to know, Jason, I would just like some internal All About Android points for being quiet about criticizing people's music types and
good work, Rod.
Well done, sir.
Not being the music snob that I am. So enjoy.
Someone's adulting now.
That's right. You're moving on up. You're stepping up, man.
Right.
Good job. All right. Well, thank you for walking through that, because I think obviously we're fascinated with this, because I actually lately I feel like every single week we talk about this to some degree, and because we've been leading up to this music upload feature and just kind of following Google's promise, which was we're bringing over the major features from Play Music into YouTube Music. Don't worry, and yet everybody's worried. Or a lot of people are. We certainly are, seem to be. So I've just been really fascinated with how this is developing. I do think, I agree with you, Ron. Like, I think a lot of these features that they have implemented into the upload feature are probably good enough. I hope that when you have a large library in YouTube Music, it is easy to navigate through and search through and that sort of stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting the update. And also Google hasn't done the bring over your library from one service to the other thing yet, which they still say they're going to do at some point. So I'm curious how that will go down.
Right.
And then how everything will be accessible moving forward. So.
APIs.
Yep. All right, cool. Real quick before we get to the arena, a couple of emails that we got, some good emails from folks. Mike wrote in to say, quick question. Does Samsung DeX work with Chromebooks? If so, does it have to be a Samsung Chromebook? Looking to upgrade my aging Windows laptop and considering Chromebooks. As far as I know, DeX does not work with a Chromebook because a Chromebook is not like a straight up like display. So you're not going to use like a dongle to plug in and take over the display. I mean, on PC, I know on PC you've got a DeX app that it plugs into, and I don't believe that there is a Chrome OS DeX app. I certainly couldn't find one earlier when I was. Yeah, and so I mean, I don't know that I don't believe that it's possible. But if someone has a correction on that, definitely let us know. AAA@twit.tv. But I could not find any way to do that. And if you got a Chromebook, like, I don't know that you need DeX.
Right.
But the same could be said about PC too. Like, why are you plugging your phone into your PC to run that desktop environment instead? I don't know. But hey, everybody want to do different things with their phone because you can. So
right.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Frank sent us an email as well. Basically, he's directing it at me and something I said previously. He says, I heard
Chuck.
Was it Frank or Chuck?
Chuck.
Oh, it's Chuck. Sorry. My bad, Frank. My bad, Chuck. Okay.
All the Franks in the world, sorry. Chuck, sorry to you too.
All good. I heard Ant talk about 8K video, and he doubted it was possible on those, air quotes, small sensors. It is possible, and here's why. And boy, this is a great explanation. It's just plain physics. Yes, video is just gathering many, many snapshots, frames, and 8K video is a large 7,680 by 4320 resolution, which means that the sensor must be 33 megapixels in size. Correct. In the comment, 33 megapixels is common in phones today, so sensors aren't too small, as Ant suggests. Stay with me on this one now, Chuck. Why hasn't 8K been available up to now? Processor speed. That's why. It takes a lot of horsepower to record 33 megapixels or 30 or 60 frames per second, and it requires fast memory. Correct. But the real question is, why take 8K video at all? Good question. Where would you play it? Well, the beauty of 8K video is that you get frames at 33 megapixels. So you can take any frame, extract it from the video, and if you have high quality, like you have a high quality photograph. If you start to think of 8K video as just photos with extremely high burst rate, you will immediately see the benefit of 8K.
I like that.
That is a great analogy. Yeah. I give you that. Yeah. 8K changes the game for photographers who will soon shoot shots in video instead of a single image, and then later extract that exact image to a perfect image. It makes better sense when you. It makes getting those fast action shots a lot easier, and I think 8K will become a pseudo standard for going forward. And all of those are great points. My problem is going all the way back to sensor size. Still, we have 4K capability on these phones with pretty much any of the smartphones today, and all of them have these tiny, less than half an inch sensor size on them. So take 4K and shoot a scene here in the studio that is well lit right now, and take a mirrorless crop sensor, APS-C sensor, regular camera, and shoot the same scene at 4K. Which one is going to look better? It's probably going to be that camera. Actually, it is going to be that camera. That bigger sensor is going to do a lot more with that light, give you a lot more clarity. Not to mention, you're probably going to have a better lens on that, but we're throwing out the lens. My problem is just that sensor is gathering all of that data. And when you start talking about 8K and pixel binning and trying to do all of this extra manipulation, I just don't buy it for these tiny sensors. Yes, we have the horsepower. Yes, we can run it on any screen or what have you, but still, I guarantee you're going to get a much better image quality from a larger sensor. Just comparing Pixel 4 XL's 4K footage, and I would put up, say, an old Canon Rebel if it was to shoot 4K. Just something that's a larger sensor that's bigger than what's in this Pixel. I guarantee it's going to look a lot better.
I just shot some 8K video of the table. It was amazing.
Is your phone on fire right now? I can't wait to
play it on me. Yes. Actually, it's not feeling too warm. I can't wait to play this on my 8K TV however many years down the line.
Right. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have 8K at home yet.
Yes.
Right.
I don't. But I could pull this as a photo. A high-res photo.
That's true. I love that aspect.
That's a really great great kind of analysis.
I've done that a time or two, pulling stills out for thumbnails, and it's you're spot on. If you got a high enough resolution video, you can pull some pretty stills and do a lot of photos. In the case of this phone, at 24 frames per second. Because if you're on 8K, it's 24 frames per second. That's 24 frame burst. Yep.
Yeah.
So well done. Hey, Chuck, thank you for that email. I loved it.
Yeah.
Cool. Jason, I'm going to go right into the sponsor. How about that?
Right, do it. Go for it.
Yeah. So we got our last sponsor of the evening. We want to thank LegalZoom for sponsoring this episode of All About Android. And listen, it's still early in the year. We're still technically in Q1. But if you run a small business, 2020 is going to fly by. That's why you should use LegalZoom right now to make sure you're set up for success. Over the past 19 years, LegalZoom has helped more than 2 million Americans start their businesses by incorporating, forming an LLC, and more. But even after your business is set up, LegalZoom can help you out with a lot more. Things like lease agreements, changing tax laws, and reviewing contracts all play a part in running your own business and running that business smoothly. These are precisely the kinds of costly hurdles that can take time away from growing your business. So don't let that happen. LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys and tax professionals can provide advice to address these things and much more. You'll never get charged by the hour since LegalZoom is not a law firm. So what you want to do is go to LegalZoom.com today and enter promo code AAA in the box at checkout for special savings. That's LegalZoom.com, promo code AAA. LegalZoom, where life meets legal. Thanks, LegalZoom.
Thank you, LegalZoom. All right. And with that, it's time to get into the arena. Let's do it.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
Last week's poll, twit.to/AAA poll 462 is where you went to place your votes for your favorite app. And Ant, you came away with a win this week.
Boom.
Did indeed. I had it up and now it's slow to load. But you won. There we go. All right, which was Star Walk 2. You won 55% of the votes, so more than half. Good job. Second place, Team Guest, Must for Movies and TV at 23%. And third place, I took a risk bringing an election boxing game into the arena.
Pretty funny.
And you either were happy to see that you could punch presidential nominees in the ring, a la Mike Tyson's Punch Out, or you're just sick of everything politics and you voted against it. So I think that's probably what happened. So we got a
thin line, Mr. Howell.
Thin line. Yes, it is indeed.
Well, so there is no thin line in the standings of the arena, and through 9 weeks, like I said, we're almost through Q1 here. Jason is sitting in first place, taking advantage of Florence being out on maternity leave. He's got 25 points. Flo's got 23 points in second place. That's just sitting there, not going up. The guests pulled into third place with 22 points. I've suffered from missing a couple of shows, and I'm in third place at 14 points. And Ant, you're all by yourself down at the bottom at 9 points.
It's okay. We're crawling.
You're doing it. You're doing it bit by bit. All right. So as we do in the arena, we're going to go in order from I'll start first because I lost last week. Yep. And then
you're the loser.
Ant, you're going to go last because you won. Ron, you'll go after me, and then Fiona, I will show off your app while you talk about it. But first, I get to talk about my app. And this is actually really cool. We were talking earlier in this episode about how rooting and ROMing used to feel like something you needed to do if you wanted to customize your device. And this is kind of part of the reason why I think a lot of people don't feel the need to root and ROM, because now it's possible they have special permissions, accessibility permissions that allow for customization of the UI in interesting ways, right? You don't have to root and ROM. You just flick it over in the settings, and as long as you understand, that things might run a little differently or whatever, you're okay with that, then you get to change the look and feel of everything. Such is the case with my app called PowerShade, notification panel and quick settings. It is a free app, although you can pay $1.99 and get rid of the ads and add a whole lot of extra stuff to it. So PowerShade. So here's the settings. Essentially what this does is this changes the look and feel of your quick settings bar and all of your notifications, which I'm not really showing notifications right now. There we go. So here's a couple of random notifications. You can see it's actually the font that it's choosing. It might be hard to see on the camera right now, but it's a little different. But I can go into here into layout. I have it running, and you get a little preview of what you can do here. I can, let's see here, go here and make it a circle outline, and then you would see everything changes up there. Or what was it? The teardrop is a cool look. All those different things. Essentially, you can just go down and customize. Do I want to shift the battery down? Do I want centered notification actions? All the way through transparent. Let's see here. Oh, that made that transparent up there. It's just kind of fun to kind of see what happens as you kind of tap through and remove things and change the number of header tiles if you like. You can shift around where the brightness slider is right now. Let's see here. If we put that down at the bottom, where is that? That's down there. I see. It changes, like I said, the quick settings and then your notifications layout. Also, you can go in there and you can play around with the colors. If you want to create your own color scheme, go for it. Auto dark mode, if you want to kind of trigger right into dark mode, automatically based on system settings and that sort of stuff. I could make the notifications transparent. Oh, that's interesting. So that lets everything kind of shine through in the background. So basically, essentially, this is replacing my notification shade, and I did have to activate. There's a little setup process where you activate the right accessibility features in order to do that. This is a heads up mode. When notifications come through, you can kind of tailor like a little toast image that appears so that you get kind of like a pop-up notification over the top of whatever you happen to be doing that shows you what that notification is. So you can customize that. And then just some random extras like putting backup and restore, but you can change like the wallpaper that sits behind your notifications. A lot of different customizations. And I just feel like it's designed really well. A
lot of stuff I wouldn't even think about.
Sorry, I hope it wasn't reflecting that whole time. Yeah, I mean, a lot. Obviously, you could get lost going through here, as with a lot of these apps are kind of like that. Like how much time do you want to spend going through here? But if you got an extra 10 minutes, you can kind of, change the look and feel of it without going too crazy. Or go crazy. Sure, why not? We'll go ahead and set it to green. Let's see what happens. Hey, now it's green up there. So it's free. Or like I said, you can pay $1.99 right now and you can get rid of the ads, and it adds a whole bunch of extra flexibility and functionality to the app. It's called PowerShade, notification panel, and quick settings. And I saw this and I was like, ooh, I'm surprised Ron didn't get to this first.
I will say it was on my list. I did consider it, so
Wow.
Now I can scratch it off the list.
Yep.
But,
go ahead and scratch it off, Ron.
I chose the one I went with this week instead of this one. So this is truly a battle of the Titans.
All right, cool. So that's my app. What you got, Ron?
All right. So my app, I feel like we look at a lot of apps and there really isn't a lot of dynamic, dramatic app titles anymore. Yeah. And so when I saw this app, it caught my eye because it is called Almighty Volume Keys. And essentially what this app does is it allows you to map your volume keys to do different functions on your phone. And as somebody who commutes a lot, is on the subway, my phone is on my jacket, my phone is my jacket pocket, I often don't want to take my phone out. It would be, sometimes I'm like, it'd be great if I could do something with these volume up and down buttons and remap them. So basically, those of you who played Contra and did the up, down, up, down, left, right stuff will recognize this. As you scroll through, Jason's there in the configuration of the app. First, you got to set it up. You hit the hamburger menu, which I assume you already did. But the activate, deactivate, that takes you to the accessibility, and you got to turn that on. So of course, you got to give the app access to access your stuff. It will put a little notification in the notification shade that tells you that it is active. You can also turn that off via notification settings if you wanted to. But here, so you've got 3 kind of modes that you can program: when the phone is idle, when there's media being played, or when sound is being recorded. And you think those are 3 kind of, weird kind of buckets, but they actually make sense when you think about it, because sound recording is one thing, listening to media is another, and then idle is everything else. So you've got a bunch of different actions. And so the first one being volume up, then volume down, then volume up, volume down, volume up, down, volume down, up. You can do volume up, down, up, down, down. So it's really to your heart content. But you tap on one of the actions, and then from there you can choose a whole bunch of things. You can start playing media. You can start recording the sound recorder. Turn your flashlight on or off. Turn Do Not Disturb on or off. Change the sound mode from vibrate to silent or whatnot. Tell time, turn Bluetooth on or off, or what really gives you pretty neat, huh? What really gives you a lot of power, those of you, and it's funny because we were talking about rooting phones and things that you could do with rooted phones. I feel like this is an app that you would have to do with root back in the day. Yeah. But now you can do it, and then you can make this even more powerful if you scroll all the way to the bottom. If you use Tasker, you can assign a Tasker task to it. So if you wanted to say, set up a Tasker task to, turn on Wi-Fi and turn off Bluetooth or whatever whenever you get home, instead of making that location-based, you can make it by hitting the volume up button or the volume down button. Pretty genius and pretty interesting.
Up, down, turns on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Exactly. And then again, controlling it when you're listening to media, it's a different experience. And so you want to specify those individually. And what you can do is you can specify the actions when you're playing music or media. And then if you scroll down, these are commands that are mixed up with volume changes. And so they recommend to avoid those because they could be mistaken for volume adjustments.
That makes sense.
Really, really smart, really clever app. Not great design, but it's the kind of app that you set it and forget it and walk away and then use it. And just really clever. So almighty volume keys, free in the Google Play Store. There is you can unlock Pro for $2.49. I don't know what that does. I didn't actually do it. But you can, if you want to support your devs, you could do that. That is an option as well. So there it is.
Right on. Almighty volume keys.
Yes.
Excellent pick.
Thanks.
All right. Fiona, this is one of those moments where you told us your app and we were like, wait a minute, that's never been in the arena. There's still like golden picks out there. It's few and far between, but you picked one that, man, I would have imagined we would have gotten to, but talk about it.
I was pretty surprised when this one was still available. My pick is the music identification app Shazam. Definitely for me is a absolute must. I just looked at the record I just set up my new device not too long ago, and I've got 51 Shazams since the end of January. So I use this app a lot. And the basic premise of the app is pretty much you press the icon in the middle wherever there's music playing, and it will pull up the name and the artist of the song that is playing, and it will save it for you to retrieve at a later time. You can go to your library and find all of the Shazams that you've saved. And let's say if you're in a location, maybe the connectivity is not very good, it can still identify the song, and it will save it once you have proper connectivity again. So that's kind of the basic function of the app. If you do have Apple Music, you can then connect to your Apple Music and play the full song, stream the full song from Shazam. But for me, as an Android user and a YouTube music user, I just use it to collect the titles and find them on my apps later. But other features on the app are, you can use it to find more information about the artists that you've discovered, and there's also even like a playlist where they kind of curate playlists based on the songs that you've Shazammed, so you can kind of use that to even discover new music. And on the other side, there's a charts list where you can check that out to discover even more music, depending on there's various regions, whether you're, in the U.S. or global, different cities, things like that, like maybe like songs that are popular in like New York versus LA and things like that. So it is overall a pretty cool app for just discovering new music.
Love it. Haven't tapped through this app in a long time too. So it's cool to see how far it's come over the years and how much they've developed that out. I mean, it's owned by Apple now, right? Is it? I think I saw Apple as I think
I'm not 100% sure, but I do know, like I said, you can connect it to Apple Music to stream songs from directly from the app.
It is.
They bought it in 2018.
There we go.
Yep.
Well designed, and I'm curious to know like the Apple influence. You can kind of see a little bit. Oh, sorry. Gosh, I keep getting the reflections. So many lights in the studio. But the app design has a lot, shares a lot with Apple Music as far as the design is concerned.
Wow, 400 million for Shazam. I thought that would have gone for more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Love it. And great find, because I'm really surprised it was never done before.
So little dark corner.
I got it.
Yeah.
Little dark corners in all about Android's app history. Yeah.
That's right. That is Shazam. Great music identification app. All right. And you have another one that I was surprised was not in there. Yes. I thought for sure this would have been in there.
I thought so too, but I'm glad I looked. And my app this week is Visor. And two sources. I believe Mr. Ron has used this app on the show for utility purposes.
Yep.
And someone in the chat room several weeks ago during the recording of Hands-On Photography, plug, wink, wink, mentioned this app. And I said, well, I'll take a look at it. And what Visor is basically a support app for if you're using Android and you need some support on your phone, you can plug this into your computer, and it will display your phone on your computer. And once it's displayed, you can send a link to someone to sort of walk them through what you're seeing on your phone screen, and they can help you with this or that regarding using your phone. I've been using it to do parts of episodes of Hands-On Photography. If I want to show off an app for like Snapseed or Lightroom Mobile or something like that, it just seemed to be a lot easier to connect my phone to the computer and then have Mr. Victor do his magic over there in the TD booth to pull it up and then throw it out to the stream so everyone could see what I was doing, even though they're essentially looking at my computer screen. Now, Mr. Victor, if you have the time, if you look back at episode 19 last week of Hands-On Photography and jump to about 3 minutes, 40 seconds, you could show the viewers right now what it would actually look like to be doing it on a computer. In this app, it's free to download, but if you want to get a couple pro grade versions where you can make this the screen be full on the computer, you have to pay like $2 a month, or you can pay a $40 subscription. And it'll give you additional bandwidth if you want to use like a higher resolution when you're sharing it out. And the additional bandwidth does make a difference. I tried it on the free side just to see what it looks like, and I said, I'll go ahead and just do the $2 and we're good to go. And so now you should see it on the screen. Yep, that was Hands-On Photography, and that's just me showing off Snapseed, a photo editor, and that's my phone. I was doing it in real time, no real delay or lag or anything like that. It's great for support, but it's also great for just doing a little, presentation and content creation. If you're out there, doing a YouTube channel or whatever and want to show something on your phone, just do this. Pretty slick.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it came from, what was his name? Kosh?
Yeah, Kosh. Yeah.
He did a Clockwork mod back in the days.
Classic app. Yeah.
Classic app.
Cool.
Classic developer.
Good pick.
Friend of the show also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed, friend of the show. I can't believe that wasn't already in the arena already, because we've talked about it. I've used it. Yeah, that's crazy.
I know. It is crazy. We overlook these things sometimes. Sometimes these things make it into the app news, and we don't ever think to bring it into the arena. So sometimes that happens, but it's just opportunity. It's opportunity for anyone who's willing to go digging.
It's an opportunity for y'all to catch this L this week. That's all it is.
Thanks a lot. And so that is Visor, VYSOR.
Yep.
All right. So everybody can vote for their favorite app this week. Is it PowerShade, Almighty Volume Keys, Shazam, or Visor? You can go to twit.to/AAA poll 463, twit.to/AAA poll 463. Place your vote, and we will check in on it next week. Of course, we're waiting for what Victor is going to vote for. It's important.
Survey says, boom.
Wow, Victor. Wow. Way to welcome me back. Thank you, sir.
It may or may not have made doing Hop a little easier.
Yeah, okay. Hey, there you go. All right.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. and as we say, vote for the app, not the person, Ron.
Exactly. Yeah. Vote for the app that you like the most.
Yes.
But you can control. You can assign tasks to your volume buttons. That's all I'm saying.
That is pretty slick, man. That is pretty slick.
Right on. Well, this was a lot of fun, and Fiona, so great to finally get you on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to hang out with us and talk Android for a little bit. We've loved having you.
Thank you for inviting me. This is great.
Yeah, you bet. So techiesupreme.com is your site. If people want to kind of follow you online, like what are you doing there? What do you want people to know about what you're up to?
Well, I mean, I feel like I have a pretty, it is a pretty run-of-the-mill tech site. I do mostly focus on Android stuff, but I will get a little bit of Apple stuff. It's mostly smartphones, but also, again, I do get a fair amount of pitches. I am kind of looking forward to, with the new year, kind of delving into other projects, more reviews and things like that of products that I've gotten a hold of to do more in-depth reviews and things like that. And I've got all the socials, so your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I do also have a YouTube channel that I'm trying to be more diligent with, so you can kind of find Techie Supreme everywhere.
Right on. Well, thank you again, and being diligent with YouTube is not an easy thing. Making the commitment to do regular videos on YouTube. Whew, it's not easy, but appreciate your work and appreciate your time, and thank you again. techiesupreme.com to find Fiona online. And what do you want to promote?
I think I said something about hands-on photography, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
Hands-on photography, twit.tv/hop. That is my weekly show here at the network where we talk about different tips and tricks to help you be a better photographer, whether it's just grabbing your smartphone or your fancy camera or just walking through some post-processing tips. We've had a lot of fun, Mr. Victor and I, each and every week, just going through different scenarios and doing a lot of listener feedback too. So I'll go through and share pics from the community and people that email them, and even do some critiques and post-processing at their requests. It's lots of fun.
Right on. twit.tv/HOP.
Yep.
Hop for hands-on photography. Ron, what's the news?
So you can go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RonXO on both platforms. I'm not posting as much lately just because I've been so busy. Because go check out Scorebit.io, my lovely little side project, our startup company about pinball. Last weekend we were in Denver at the North American North American Championships and the Women's World Championships and the Pin Masters tournament. We had 14 pinball machines out of the 18 that were in the tournament with Scorebit devices inside of them, sending scores to the cloud and then feeding that into the live stream. It was really cool. We did a lot of like real-time field bug testing, and we had like the first day we had a whole bunch of stuff that we identified, and then our developers worked on it overnight, and then we deployed the changes and they were fixed on Friday. So it was really cool. But yeah, so more exciting stuff coming this month. So stay tuned. We've got fun things to share towards the end of the month. So
love it. I love watching you develop this idea further and further. And see it become
hardware is indeed hard.
Yes, it is.
There it is.
I'll take your word for that. I believe you. Yep. Well, congratulations on that. Can't wait to hear more news there. Victor, thank you for all that you do.
And the vote.
Problem.
And the vote. Well, and thanks you for the vote. I'm considering replacing you on this show because of the vote. Just kidding. We couldn't possibly replace you.
But I caught Ron's spring training talk earlier.
Oh, there it is. Yep. I was very excited for baseball.
At least you did. Because that flew over my head like a baseball. Yep. You can find me all over the Twit network. Twit.tv/HOA is my new show, Hands on Android. Episode 3 is live right now. It's on permissions, kind of a deeper look at managing permissions on Android. This upcoming week's episode on Thursday is, I believe it's Samsung versus Google Find My Phone. They both do things a little differently, and which one's better? The answer may surprise you. Twit.tv/HOA. That episode publishes this Thursday. But that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching and listening. This show publishes every Tuesday evening after Victor spends his time cleaning it up and getting it ready for the feeds. Subscribe at twit.tv/AAA. Just go there, find the right feed. Find the right podcatcher, YouTube, whatever. We've got links for everything there so you can subscribe easily, and you should subscribe. Then you don't have to work so hard to get our episodes. It comes to you like magic. And that is it for this week. We'll see y'all next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody.